Hey, good evening, everybody. So, welcome to Math 133, day 13. We've finished the midterm and I've graded everyone's midterm. So, go ahead, take a look at that, see if there's anything that you have questions on for that. Today we're going to be looking at the Chapter 7 review. Last time, same day as the midterm, we assigned 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3 lecture notes. If you haven't finished those yet, you can work on them tonight. We're going to be covering the Chapter 7 review today, though. And then the 8.1 and 8.2 lecture notes, we're assigning those today, so have those done by Wednesday. Um, and then on Wednesday, we're going to do the chapter 8 review. So I'm still rearranging some things. So like you'll notice that next week, Wednesday, I don't have anything scheduled yet. So I'm still rearranging things. That doesn't apply to the lecture notes. All the lecture notes, if you're working ahead, you're still good. Keep doing that, keep going. It's only the worksheets and the projects that are getting moved around a little bit. So um, another thing, for the weekly participation boards. So if you are not in class, this is week 7. So make sure you fill out the discussion board for week 7. Normally it's due on Friday. I pushed it out to July 5th just so that everybody can enjoy their 4th of July holiday. Um, but for those of you in the class today, you don't have to do that. Okay. If you come to the class one time each week, you don't have to do any of these discussion boards. For those of you listening on the recording, if you miss Monday and Wednesday's classes, then yeah, you have to fill this out. Um, cool. So, uh, Today, as I said, is the Chapter 7 review worksheet, and you'll find that on page 420 420 in your course pack. Okay. And just like usual with our worksheets, I'm going to give you a couple of hints. And then For those of you who are listening on the recording, I'll give you a couple of hints. For those of you in class, we're going to work on it together. I'll give you some hints on the big one, on the ones that I think are difficult, but otherwise, we'll work on it together in class, and yeah, we'll get it done tonight. We should be done early today. So that's good, right? Uh, there is one thing I wanted to point out for the midterm. So Today, chapter 7, we're going to be talking a lot about z-scores and also looking at probabilities. Okay. Both of those we've talked about before, right? We've talked about probabilities or percents or ratios, whatever you want to call it, and we've talked about z-scores. So everyone kind of struggled with one of the questions on the midterm, and I want to point it out. Question number 3, part F on the midterm was the number of liver disease deaths for Maine unusual? So here in part E, we had to calculate that Maine had 304 liver disease deaths, find Maine's z-score. Okay. So when you calculated the z-score, most people were able to get the z-score, and that's negative 0.55. Okay. That's a z-score, not a percent, not a probability. Okay. So when we came down here, though, a lot of people were struggling with this because the question is, was this unusual? Okay. For the word unusual, we talk about it two different ways, depending on whether we're talking about probability or whether we're talking about z-score. So something is unusual if the probability is less than 0.05, 5%, right? That's one way to talk about it. Okay. If I have a probability and it's less than 5%, then that's unusual. Okay. This is not a probability, though. This is a z-score. So the other way to talk about it is if it's it's considered unusual if your z-score is less than -2 or your z-score is bigger than 2. Okay. So this one right here, -0.55, is that bigger than 2? Well, no, it's not. It's negative. Is it less than -2? No, it's not. Okay. If this had been -2.5, yeah, that is definitely less than -2. That is going to be unusual. Okay. The reason why we use 5% and two standard deviations or two for your z-score is because those correlate together. And we're going to talk today, all of chapter 7 is connecting z-scores and probabilities. Okay. So some of the z-scores and the probabilities we've got memorized, right? One standard deviation is 68%, two standard deviations is 95%, three standard deviations is 99.7. Those we've already got memorized, but some z-scores we don't, and that's where StatCrunch can jump in and help us. Okay. Anyway, so that's just one I wanted to point out, because a lot of people struggle with that. So keep in mind whether you're looking at a probability or a z-score when you're talking about something unusual. Okay. Okay, cool. So, yeah, a lot of people in the chat. That's why I brought it up because yeah, it's stumped a few people. So, okay, so chapter 7 review worksheet, page 420. Number 1. So, uh, you'll find information about uh, this on page 163. So Caitlin's asking, is there any way we can review our answers for our midterm? So I tried to mark some of the ones you got wrong, but uh, different people got different ones wrong. I would be happy to, after we finish the uh, review worksheet today, I'd be happy to go over any questions you might have had on the midterm. So yeah, just stick around a little longer. We can do that. Okay, so uh, this one, uh, page 151 in your course pack has info on this. So which of these graphs has the smallest mean? So mean is the way that we measure the center. Okay, we can measure the center with mean, median, and mode, and we're talking about a normal curve. Those are all the same. Okay, so right here is my center, so A is right here. Okay. When we're talking about standard deviation, though, we're talking about the spread. Okay. We're on page 420, 420. Well, now we're moving on to page 421. So those are all the hints I'm giving you on that page. The page is not too bad. Um, oh, for number one, page 163. Okay, so for number 3, find the following for the standard normal curve. Standard normal curve, your mean is 0 and your standard deviation is 1. Okay. This is basically what we use when we're talking about z-scores. It's the z curve. Okay. So anytime I have standard deviations, I'm basically using the standard normal curve. Okay. Um, so we're going to need StatCrunch for this. Okay. Because, for example, we want the probability that z is above negative 0.36. Okay. So if this is a standard normal curve, 0 is right there. Okay. Um, negative is going to be over here. So negative 0.36 is probably pretty close to 0, like right here, maybe. Okay. And I'm shading everything that's above. So above means greater than or equal to. So that would be all of this that we're shading right here. Okay. Okay. Now, if this z-score was -1 or -2 or -3, any whole number, we have those memorized, right? It was 34% there, 34% there, right? 0.15 way out on the tail. We've got those memorized, right? But we certainly don't have probability memorized for this. So to find the probability that x is greater than or equal to -0.36, we're going to need StatCrunch to find that number for us, okay? So to do that, you look on page 235 in your course pack, number uh, number 1 and number 2. Okay. So page 235 in your course packet is the yellow exam notes packet, and it's going to tell you what you're going to click on in order to do StatCrunch things in order to calculate that. Okay. Okay, so then for this one, part B, find the percentile. Okay. So percentile. Oh, and this shouldn't have been X. This should have been Z. No, that's not a huge deal. I'm not going to mark you off for having an X there. Okay. Um, For percentile, it's always less than or equal to. Okay. Percentile rank of Z equals 2.15. Okay. So in other words, we want to find the probability that Z is less than or equal to something. Okay. And that's going to give you a probability. Okay. And you'll use StatCrunch to do that. Okay. Don't forget to shade. Okay. Which side I'm shading. Okay. But when we talk about percentile, like if I'm in the 75th percentile, 75th percentile is Q3, third quartile. 75th percentile means I'm looking at 75% of the data and lower. Okay. So uh, this, when you use StatCrunch, it's going to give you a probability. You need to then convert that into a percentile. Okay. And that'll be our answer. Okay, cool. So this one, part C, find the
And you guys, this is,
z-scores.
sorry, Joe, this is
Yeah, of
also
course.
the one where you have to round it to the nearest whole number.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. And we'll talk about that when we do it and when we round it, we always round down, okay, with percentiles. So even if you're at, if you get like 75.9, we don't round that up to 76. We round that down to 75, okay? Which is weird, right? So normally when we round, depends on what the last digit is, and we round up, maybe we round down. Okay. Okay, cool. So the z-scores, since we're looking for two scores, you want to click between, okay, for this part, for this question. Okay, in StatCrunch. Okay. Um, find the z-score that corresponds to the third quartile. So quartile means what percentile? So that's a question for you guys. Which percentile is the third quartile? 75th, right? Okay. So, and since it's percentile, we use less than or equal to. Okay. All right. All right. So, number 4 down here, again, looking at the standard normal curve, which means that right here at the mean is 0. Okay. And we want to find a lot of stuff. Okay. We want to find A1, A3, and Z1. All right. So, hmm. So if I wanted to find Z1, I'm not going to be able to do that. Okay. In StatCrunch, when you're doing these calculations, you need a Z-score or a probability, and then you can get the other one. Okay. That's all we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking our Z-scores, calculating a probability for it. We're going to take our probabilities, calculate a Z-score for that. Okay. If I don't have either, I'm going to be kind of stuck. So I would suggest starting with this one first because you do have the Z-score for A3. Okay. once you have that, that's this shaded region right here. A3 is this guy, okay? A1 is this guy. A2 is all this unshaded stuff. Well, that's the whole thing. This piece, and this piece, that adds up to 100%, okay? So that means once you have A3, you can find A1, so do that second, okay? And then lastly, you can find this guy, okay? So even though it's called Z1, don't start with that, okay? Okay, cool. All right, so that's it for that page. Let's take a look now at page 422, okay? Now, number 5 is very similar to the previous one. It's actually kind of the same thing. You've got A1, A2, and A3, same thing where A1 plus A2 plus A3, that adds up to 100%, okay? But there is a difference, and that's that we are no longer on the standard normal curve. We have a mean of 23.2 and a standard deviation of 2.7. That means that this guy right here, or wherever the top is not zero anymore. Okay, that's fine. Just be careful in StatCrunch whether you have a mean of zero or a mean of something else. Okay, but you can do the same thing. So this one you should be able to get first. Okay, and then go from there. And again, this is on page 235. Okay, and you'll use number 3 and 4, and the steps are very similar. Okay, Um, provide two interpretations of X2 and A3 in the context of the situation means uh, we need a direction word. Right. Well, what I mean by that is, more or less or between, okay, something like that. Okay. So there's some examples of this on page 153, 158, and 161. Okay. So we're going to do this twice. Okay. This is asking you to do the same problem 2 times. Okay. So for the proportion part, okay, the way that's going to look is you're going to have a percent, which you're going to have to calculate, but some percent of all Americans drank something, something, something. Okay. For the probability part, you're going to write if we select a random American, then the chances that they drank something, something, something. Okay. And you're going to use the same numbers for the percent as the chances that they drank whatever. Okay. Okay. Last page, and then we'll dive in. Okay. All right. Number 6. The average daily JLO population in the US was normally distributed with a mean. Okay, so again, we don't have a mean of 0. We have this mean. By the way, don't use a comma in StatCrunch. A comma in StatCrunch means something else, okay? Now, whenever I'm doing any kind of reporting for the business or my job or anything like that, anytime I have a number over 1,000, I want to put a comma in there. But when I'm actually doing the calculations, I need to remember not to include that, okay? So here, I don't have a comma. If if I put that in StatCrunch, that's fine. So again, we don't have a mean of 0. Okay, so it's not the standard one. So be aware of that. Um, calculate PX less than 650,000. Okay, so that means we're calculating PX less than 650,000 equals, okay, find that in StatCrunch, and that's going to give you a probability. Okay, and then interpret it. So interpret means you need a direction word. Okay. So the interpret part is going to be this this number as a percent. This percent of the days the U.S. jail population is blank. Okay. Blah blah blah. Okay. Okay. Same thing here where you need to interpret. So both of these need direction words. Okay. Um, yeah. Last one. Um, suppose there is a 20% chance that more than X, that means we are using greater than or equal to. So you're going to shade to the right. Okay. Here. So wherever that is, so you're gonna have to find X this time. This time you have a probability, you need to find the X. Wherever you put that X on here, okay, you're gonna shade to the right of it. Okay. All right. So that's all the hints I have. I'm gonna stop the recording. We're gonna jump in and finish filling this out. And then afterward, yeah, I'd be happy to go over any midterm questions you have. And yeah, so.